Hey, welcome to another episode of Carnival of Random. This is a bit of a special one for me, but first off, Greg, turned out Greg's in Berwyn. I called them up, and he's like, I have a podcast today, so hopefully he'll be back next week. But fear not, gentle listeners. We have the great Mike Murray filling in for him. So
how y'all doing out there?
And this is Rob, of course, and this, Van Gogh finally got his attention. Luckily, these guys, they're getting it a lot earlier than he did, and quality wins out after a while, and I'm very thrilled they have a lot of stuff coming up this week, a record release, and I'm very pleased to have. It means a lot to me. You'll see why in terms of my music growth. Gary Trainer of New Math.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
Now, the one story I've never known, in full disclosure, my brother plays keyboards with you, so I was a young un. I was young, spending my money on magazines and stuff in those days. But how did New Math actually start?
Well, actually, Mark and I were roommates.
Vassar Street, right?
On Vassar Street. And at that time, I was good friends with Kevin Patrick. And we had been friends for a couple of years when Kevin, as a record collector, he wrote a letter to the guy, for Eddie and the Hot Rods. He wrote a fan letter, and he started trading records with Howard Thompson, who signed them to. He was over in England, signed them to Island Records, and he answered. And of course, Howard, being a record collector, also they started trading records, and Howard was sending us all the punk music before it was hitting here, trading it with Kevin. And Kevin come over with these new singles like The Ramones and Sex Pistols and The Damned and all of that. And we were going, oh my God, we're going nuts. I mean, we were familiar with Patti Smith, and we had seen her live and were quite transformed by her. I don't know if anybody had a chance to ever see her perform.
You're not.
Especially when Horses came out. She was kind of like pick up the guitar, rock and roll. You got to just get up and do it. And so we decided to start a band because we wanted to be in the middle of this wave that was hitting, because we missed the first wave with the Beatles and the Kinks and the, etc. All of those bands and Pretty Things, etc. On the first wave, and on the second wave, we decided, well, we wanted to be in the middle of it, so we started New Math. And the first thing we did was we got a drummer. That was Paul Dodd. He had a sign, instead of drummer wanted, he kind of had a signed drummer available, and had a good Paul Dodd drawing of drum set and everything. We said, well, this guy looks good. So Paul came over and to Vassar Street, and we tried him out. And then we saw a guitar player, and Robert drove up, driving Dale, because they came from the same town, and Iggy Pop was blaring out of the radio and everything. So we were like, well, this might be a really good one too, right? So Dale came in, and he tried out. So we needed a bass player. So what we decided to do was teach Robert how to play bass, even though he'd never played bass before. And so he went out and got a bass, and every day I would teach him the bass parts, because at the time I played guitar, and Dale played guitar, and Kevin sang, and Paul was on drums. And that particular lineup, and see, Mark was my roommate, but he got in a car with Kenny Colombo and decided to go across country. So the first couple of years that we were playing, Mark was kind of off on the road.
He was donating blood to. I think I remember the story was they made money by donating their blood on the road trip.
So but then some things occurred where we had to ask Robert to leave, and that was when we had Mark come in on keyboards, and I switched to bass, and then Paul kind of left because he wanted to do something with his wife, the High-Tech's personal effects. That was because we had a huge rehearsal room, and everybody would be up there, the Targets and Peggy, and they would be doing their thing, and then come to find out Paul and Peggy wanted to do their own thing. So we got Bobby McCarthy, Bam Bam. He was a regular at the House of Guitars, and we bought him a drum set, and he played drums on a couple, I don't know, for maybe a year. But then he just wasn't working out because he wouldn't show up, fortunately.
Well,
that was the thing. I mean, we rehearsed because we weren't very good. And we rehearsed every day. And I would teach Robert and then go and rehearse. It was a 6-7 day a week kind of situation because, you just, and he just wouldn't show up at our rehearsals, which was just wasn't acceptable, And that was when we got Roy. And then Roy got us Chris, because he knew Chris from playing in bands. And so now the new lineup was Roy, Chris Yackel, myself still on bass, and Mark on keyboards, and Kevin on lead singing. So that was the different. So this particular period is closer to the very early one. There are some songs on here, one of which is one that Dale wrote. He wrote some really good songs, and so we did get one of the songs that we recorded, one of Dale's songs, and then we went through this, so this is more of the garagey period of New Math.
Because I know a little about your studio just because of Greg Prevost's book and the thing he released.
Yeah, he was up there. He was up there too, and I was the first one to play guitar on his tracks before the Chesterfields.
Well, I know how you could have gotten drummers though. If you have to find drummers, just order a pizza and they'll come. Yeah. But a little bit too from being there, and Mike, you can add in because I was a young'un. How was the scene there when it started out? Going down? What do you remember?
Yeah, I was going to ask you in Rochester, New York, in 1977.
Right.
Where did you think you were going to play?
well, what we did was we did what we were told to do, which you had to get a manager. I mean, a real manager. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy had to be known by the club owner.
Yeah.
You had to play 3 sets a night. This is at Orange Monkey and Penny Arcade and what's that other one that Jeff?
Oh, the Red Creek.
Red Creek.
Yeah.
And clubs in Syracuse and clubs in Buffalo. You had to play 3 sets a night. You had to present it to them with pictures, and you had to bring your own PA. And that was and we did all of it. Had a band, a PA. We went around. We lied about what songs we played.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
We gave them 3 sets of lies.
John Denver.
Yeah.
Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Journey. What?
Yeah. So and we really did Rolling Stones and Patti Smith and the
Eddie and the Hot Rods.
Eddie and the Hot Rods, definitely. Which we're doing a tune. At Record Archive, we're doing Get Out of Denver.
Okay.
And then
which is Bob Seger. So you weren't lying.
Yeah, we weren't lying. But it's the Hot Rods version.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Fast Hot Rods version. And Dick Storms is going to play harmonica in this particular show at the Archive. He's going to get out of Denver with us. And but then what happened was, Scorgie, we rehearsed at the Cox Building on St. Paul Street. This is where all these, other people had. Bowery Boys had a place in there.
It was between Andrews and the Interloop. And
now it's closed. Yeah, it's sad. But it was a great building.
Yeah.
And we had this cool, huge space above the Dial-A-Dow, which was.
It was the 70s.
It was.
It was like, they put quarters in, and the glass would go up, and that was right below us, and it was real huge. And that was when Greg Prevost and all these people would come up and mess around with recordings, and then and just down the street on Andrews Street was Scorgie, and so we would be going there after rehearsal for drinks, and Kevin asked if he could put his records in the jukebox.
Oh yeah.
So he started putting reggae and then all the stuff.
Clash
Clash and everything. So people who were into that actually started hanging around at Scorgie, and then Scorgie said, "Well, I'm going to open the downstairs, and did you want to play?" Well, in this time we had already started playing New York or the Mud Club or the club down in
CBGB's.
We didn't play CBGB's, no. We played Danceteria, Mud Club, but we're also down in Washington, the 930 Club.
Okay.
What happened was we told Don, when we go out of town, we just play one set. We play one set, and then opening for somebody, and their PA was there, the lights were there, everything was there. What you need to do is have a PA and lights, and the bands will pay for them at the end of the night, and they'll pay for the opening band. They'll just, whoever gets the door takes care of the night. And he agreed. So that was when you were able to just put together one set. Everything was there. You just got up on stage and played. I can't remember the person that did the sound there.
Mark?
Mark, I think his name was Mark.
Yeah.
He owned the PA, and he got his money.
Yeah, Mark Thibault.
Yeah, he got the money at the end of the night, and that's when Scorgie's turned into, and then people like Nancy Marcuzzi and etc. started booking bands there, and then other bands obviously got the idea that, well, if New Math can do it, I can do it. We'll take the lead night, and we'll get an opening band, and or we'll open for somebody, because couldn't always have the same band opening. And that's why I think a music scene grew here, because there was some place that cultivated them, encouraged them to do original music. Encourage them to be creative and do their own thing, and that's why this particular record, I'll have to pull up. I don't know if you've seen the packaging yet.
Not yet.
I have, actually.
I would like to, because I'm going to play the heck out of it on my radio show.
Good.
It's very stylish.
What it is it's very Rochester. Yeah. He did Jay.
Okay, I will say stylish.
There you
go. He did a great job of the cover is the original cover of Die Trying that Paul Dodd did.
Yep, I've got that on Reliable Records.
On Reliable.
Yep.
So that's the cover.
Okay.
So, which I thought was great. And then inside is all the posters and buttons and everything that all laid out.
I remember I had
my new math adds up. It was a casualty back then. It popped off and it's been long gone.
No, I had a sticker,
we had
the older women's
out
sticker.
For anybody that had stickers, bumper stickers.
Well, I do still have the bumper sticker of Radio in Rochester insults my intelligence. Now I'm insulting people with it. So
we are here.
So
too.
we are.
But I also had that was either it was the woman with Trying. But what I do with the sticker, I stuck it on my bedroom wall.
Well, that's what you do when you're a kid. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they got used, Yeah. But luckily we found enough. and so I think it's an homage to the Rochester punk new wave rock scene, which is what we really were.
Yeah.
And that I'm very proud, very happy that this. Again, someone mentioned the other day, just seemed like old, tired stuff. No, it doesn't, because it stands up. I think, number one, all the bands in the 80s stand up now. I mean, they were the...
well, I agree.
They were that was a renaissance period for, all the bands that came out of England. Not necessarily punk, then moved on to the, to the more like orchestral maneuvers or etc.
But punk broke it, though. I mean, there was this stranglehold of rock groups that were still living in 1969 and just repeating that, and then punk came through it, and for whatever reason, it took hold with some groups, and then it really blossomed in the 80s where people are like, we're going to do what we want. We don't necessarily have to do the same thing that everyone else is doing. If you want to, you can, but at least there was a variety of
huge,
approaches.
So much creativity.
Yeah.
The bands didn't, Blondie didn't sound like,
no, and
Pretenders
that was great.
or
and they were
etc.
distinct. Like when I hear any of your music from any of this, I know who it is. It's no. And the thing about it too is I like two aspects of this. I like how organically everybody found each other. It's like, wow, you got this album. You realize you're not the only one who likes something. And the other thing I found being like, especially like my good friend Kevin Wilcox, but he's not alone. All these young musicians, so many of them know your work. You mentioned New Math.
Well, that's why Kevin came because he's very close to. Remember, my Devil's Pension band right now. The drummer and the lead singer were in a band with Kevin, whatever band he had before he left.
But you solidified that whole thing in Scorgies, like you said, and then people met at Scorgies, whether seeing you guys or somebody else. In fact, Mick Albert, that I did the show with, started the show with 39 years ago, met at a Chesterfield King show there. You guys, I think September of 79 might have been the first time you played there.
Yeah, that's when they opened.
Yeah, because I remember going downstairs from the bar area, not the door that you would later go in, and we went downstairs, and it was a crazy night. You guys are throwing out bumper stickers and T-shirts and doing Gloria and, Wooly Bully and all the hot rods, all your still stuff. Yeah, it was great.
Well, I think what I feel has happened, because there are younger people like Derek, who's taken over the lead singing for these shows. He is 20, 30 years younger. He knows everything we've done. He knows all the bands that were around then. That's who interests him. Richard Hell or Patti Smith or John Cale or
Johnny Thunders.
All those bands are who he. There were punk bands that came after in the 90s, and these kids have not a lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
They have more interest in what we all did in this from 79 or 77 up. They know it. They know it by heart. They got all the records. The kids in Danny's Favorites. The guitar player came running up to me when he did a show with Danny's Favorites, And he came running up to. He had all my records, and he wanted me to.
The Lake Brothers and Danny's favorites. Yeah.
You know what you got to do though. The thing
I'm
is,
like so amazed at these.
Yeah.
You know that all these people. This is the music that, and we're not the only thing they love. They love all of that stuff that came in the late '70s and mid '80s. That's what their influences are. That's who they like. That's who they. And I think televisionaries and etc. are great.
But you get the ones. It's amazing. You get like the kid who comes up to you. It's like, when did we make this Belgian import? Like they get stuff you don't even know. One of the things, like for me, there were the late night rock shows, and I remember seeing the Plasmatics. Just the theatricality of it.
We opened for them.
They're using. They're sawing cars in half.
Webster, New York.
We opened for the Plasmatics in Albany. New Math did. Wow. Then we realized that we were like, we got blown off the stage. I'll tell you that.
Well, when you're blowing
there were like
chainsaws. And,
there was like coffins opening and people coming out with chainsaws, and she didn't have anything on it.
Well, she had like the little. Did she have the tape?
She had the electrical tape on. Yeah.
Who remembered us?
I'll
tell you that they were, but they really gave it everything. It was a great, and they fit in with that. I mean, they had their own. I wouldn't say they were punk. I say they were beyond punk.
They were like They were like shock rock, sort of like
kind of a
theater,
funky metal sound.
A little bit like Alice Cooper background, just because of theatrics and everything. Everything else.
It was.
But still, you got the best tribute ever, and I posted this on Facebook before I heard my brother tell me. Somebody wrote Scorgies in the bathroom. They wrote "They Piss Among You" in the bathroom. Now, what band could have a better tribute to that?
Well, I don't know. They used to write "Crappy and the Stenchman" for Cappy and the Frenchman. So
this is what they're putting out. T-shirts.
It's a beautiful red
You have to describe it on the show because we have no visual.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll want one for yourself. It's the New Math T-shirt that comes with. You have to order it separately or buy a package. It'd be fantastic for you. Comes in red and red.
This is what you can buy: the T-shirt, CD, and vinyl album, or you can buy the T-shirt and CD, or the T-shirt and the album.
And this is Propeller.
Yeah, let's get into that. How did this come about, Gary?
Propeller Sound Recordings, kids.
How did
Remember
this come
that?
about?
Propeller Sound Recordings.
Well, what happened had nothing to do with us. Really, we didn't go like begging or knocking on doors.
We need people to hear our music.
This Jay Coyle, who's heading Propeller Sound Recordings, I know of them because they've reissued some other bands that I like Love Tractor, and
they had a long time,
yeah, but they reissued them. And Jay actually grew up in Rochester.
There you go.
And he remembers Kevin Patrick's radio show.
Yeah. Import Export. Yep. Well, they did it on CMF with Uncle Raj, right?
Well, Uncle Raj, I think that, you might have, Uncle Raj had his own.
Ted Edwards?
He had his one at midnight where it was a local show.
But I remember that.
But Kevin had his Import Export, which really influenced a lot of people because he played, I was saying, this music that a lot of people weren't hearing and may not have heard. Because he was trading with Howard. Now, Howard Thompson produced a lot of this stuff for us. So Jay remembers that was what caused him to get into the more creative new wave punk. He does a lot with bands out of the out of Georgia, was that Athens sound?
Yeah, that's.
He's kind of. So he may have seen us before he left the city, because he called and said, "Look, I have this Propeller Sound Recordings, and we do reissuing and stuff, and I would really like to put out New Math." And so that was when we put a call out, went through a lot of tapes. I still have tons of tapes nobody's heard. That I found through this project. And
did you put the WRUR interview on there?
I don't know.
I taped it.
Yeah.
I think it may be the only copy.
Well, the song I Can Tell.
Yeah, I Can Tell was on there.
Is in our set.
All right. Has that been reissued on the collection?
No.
Can't.
Because we don't have a good recording of it.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
The only recording, and it's not. It's from a radio, from a.
Yeah.
I don't know. We went through so many tapes.
Yeah.
And the original sound recording of that song. So we may record it.
Okay. I've heard the one with Willie Alexander, the one you did with them. I heard some of those songs.
Yeah. That was another great thrill in my life. But that was again another period in New Math. Is when we went to the They Walk Among You Gardens. That's the more horror,
psychedelic
spooky,
which we may hear from in the future, maybe if we're lucky. You never know.
They actually, in 1999, Reanimator Records put out a CD because at that time they contacted me. That was when the internet was new, and
you guys came on the radio show to plug it. I remember that.
Somebody came and somebody told me I was on the internet because that was kind of new.
Yeah.
I was on the internet, and somebody said, anybody who knows anybody from New Math, please get them to contact us. And there were these two brothers in Ann Arbor, Michigan, who had a label called Reanimator. And they said, your stuff is only on vinyl and not on CD.
Yeah.
And that was 1998
Wake the
or
Dead,
something.
maybe. I have the shirt, actually.
That was, of course, things are reversing now, and who cares about CDs? And
I do.
Everybody wants vinyl. Which is why I'm just so thrilled that we're getting a 12-inch vinyl release. Cool. Oh my God!
I got both of them. I got the CD and the vinyl.
They put it out, and so that period is actually covered in a reissuing sort of manner. A lot of the songs are on that Wake the Dead. Yeah. So that was covered. This early stuff, and a lot of people are mad at me that I didn't put early stuff on.
Just two songs. You've got Johnny's on Top, which I'm glad you put on there because I just remember hearing you do it like once or twice, and then his Die Trying on there, or was it?
Yeah.
Oh no, The Restless Kind I think is on there too, and everything else is more current. If memory serves.
I mean, on the 99.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Restless Kind is on there.
I don't remember. I'd have to.
It was more the dark stuff. It was more.
Yeah, we don't check facts on this show.
We don't need no stinking facts.
It was the dark stuff.
Yeah. 15%.
There's that one song I've heard played. My brothers played the one "Creature in the Dead of Night."
Right.
I've never heard that on any album or anything before.
No. That was not.
Kevin introduces it electric music for the mind.
For your mind and body.
Yeah. But one thing I wanted to ask you too is about Die Trying and the John Peel stuff. I think people would be interested in that.
Well, again, when we recorded Die Trying, this was at the time that we were trying to get out to everybody that the independent record release, independent record companies, meaning you went to the label and you paid for the recordings, you did them all, you gave them to them, they then issued them, and which was a lot less recoupable than if they came and gave you $40,000 or $50,000. You recorded it, which took the whole $50,000, and then you were into them, and that whole record deal. Whereas this record deal was, so when we did Die Trying in Angela, we gave it to Howard, went back to England, and had it released on Reliable Records. It then got played on the John Peel show, and Howard was working for CBS. He moved from Island to CBS, and so he released it on CBS Records. in England. So that was how we got airplay in England as opposed to nothing here, because it was an independent record from England here. We did do Die Trying one more time with Archive Records.
Yep.
So that's been released on 3 different labels. Now 4.
It's okay.
And we are going to get the we're going to get the Book of World Records on how many times a record can be released on a different label.
You're like an NHL
say
coach.
That one more time. We'll be sitting here 20 years from now going, I can't believe it. Somebody else is releasing it again. Or hopefully not. Maybe this one will. People will finally find out that it's a
great song.
Yeah.
It was I felt it was a kind of a home run. I mean, people, still to this day, are coming, saying Die Trying is not old and tired. And
what I would do is, if I played Die Trying to anybody and I asked name the era, they would probably go, did these kids just start this year?
Yeah.
It was timeless. You wouldn't know when it would come from. Where, like, obviously there's some things we could play that
a
are
lot
dated.
of the stuff on this record is like that.
One of my big thrills, actually, that was going to school, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Go-Go's were playing the Dome, and you opened, and I heard They Walk Among You play on the radio, and special guest New Myth.
Special guest New Myth.
I would hear your
with
songs on CMF really late at night. Every now and then you might hear one.
Actually, I called and requested it, and they played it in the afternoon once.
Oh,
yeah. Well, it was a new guy to the station, and he's
he
like,
was
okay.
fired the next day.
He might have been. I don't know. But, yeah.
What did you do? Yeah.
So this is like a really big week for
But
the
then
band.
we have a whole nother period, which was the 3 albums that we put out on Enigma Records, which was Cowpunky, Sundown on Venus, which was a space western.
Berries, right?
That was the Jet Black Berries.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And of course, one of my bragging points of Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
There you go.
With the old Crowley, there's One Law, Love Under Will, but that's always.
The Return of the Living Dead.
Was Shadow Drive supposed to be in there too? Because that's why you wrote it. Was that supposed to be in the movie too as well? Because it sounds like it would go with it a little bit.
No, it was not the song I wrote for it. Actually.
It was Love Under Will was in the movie.
Right, and that song was on an EP, like an 8-song EP, which was kind of big, on Brain Eater Records.
Yeah.
And Brain Eater Records was our friend Steve Pross. That was part of Dutch East Indian. And as soon as he pressed the record, and everything, it went out of business. So that record never really got released.
Well, the Milkshakes were on Brain Eater too. Yeah.
Steve Pross then moved from New York to L.A., and he became an A&R man for Enigma Records. So he is the person that put together the soundtrack for Return of the Living Dead. He did the whole thing. So they gave us money to record a song for the album. We were in the studio recording Sundown on Venus because we decided to take that money and do a whole album, actually a 3-sided album. And I wrote a song called, what was it called? Shadow Drive. So I wrote a song called Shadow Drive and another one called All Is Lost. And those 2 songs were songs, because they sent me like a cassette of the Return of the Living Dead without special effects, like when the atomic bomb went off, there was just a picture of an atomic bomb, or maybe.
You get the idea, yeah.
Yeah. So I had that, and I wrote songs, and we were in the studio recording, the album, when Steve Pross called and said they want it now. This is what movie making is like.
Oh, boys, we need it now. Not done. We need it now.
It wasn't that, but now it's like it's here. So, well, because he had released Love Under Will on the Brain Eater, he felt he had control over that song, over anything else that we did. Because some songs were on 415, you'd have to get permission from 415. He didn't have to get any permission, and he did not get permission from me to put Love Under Will onto the soundtrack, because it was not written for it. But apparently it works, because it really, a lot of people like it.
And it works. Weird one. This is only me, but I've told my brother this. The movie 16 Candles, and I'd have to look again. When they're in the record store,
no, it wasn't 16 Candles. Oh. It was.
It was one of those teen movies.
It was
I see Sundown at Venus in the Racks. It looks like.
Yeah, no, it definitely was.
It wasn't Meet My Delusions.
No, it was one with this. What's her name? Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, Molly Ringwald.
Was it
Pretty in Pink? Pretty in Pink was Pretty in Pink.
It was in Pretty in Pink.
You guys are on there.
Absolutely is as clear as day.
It wasn't just me.
No, it's definitely there. It's definitely there. I don't know if John Hughes liked it or.
It was a fluke. It was like the best fluke ever.
If they built, because movie making, they could build a record store.
Yeah.
Or you can go into a real record store. But I think they went into a real record store, and they had, because it was a L.A. type of
Tower Records or something,
record
probably,
label,
yeah.
And they were out in L.A., so maybe a promotion from Enigma wasn't odd.
Maybe your buddy snuck in to the set and he was talking to him.
It was awesome.
I always want to think that John Hughes was such a fan that he made sure that I want Jet Blackberry's right here.
I was just stunned, though, because I'm looking going, no, it can't be it. And I love that album because, like, the third side, you have Carol Ann, all this stuff. But then you have the blank side. It was like, okay, record what you want on the blank side.
I remember that at the radio station going, not on the other side.
We put some songs on there trying to link New Math with the Jet Blackberries. So we did Restless Kind again. Some other songs.
Carolyn, which would be more like his.
Well, Carolyn was just a song that we did with Willie Alexander.
Okay.
And that was like a highlight of my life, recording with Willie.
He loved that too, because I would like message him and I'd mention this, and he'd always like say, "I really enjoyed that." Good old Willie.
Yeah, he came here and played quite a few times. It was.
But you played with a lot. I remember the Ramones.
Well, we actually played with Willie at the Rat. We
cool.
backed him up for a whole set. No, it was
tough crowd. You had to be good at the Rat.
Yeah. That'd be
and
great.
I'm sure you were.
If somebody taped that would be awesome.
Well, first we opened and then we backed him up the whole night. So that was awesome.
Before we get into this, is a very big week for New Math, and everybody should come out, buy the album, the CD, the T-shirt, throw stuff at him, throw confetti at him. But I know you and Roy especially never stopped. I remember the Atomic Swindlers. Right now, which is just zooming ahead, Roy seems to be like playing in a bunch of bands still.
Yeah.
And you have a new lovely band, which I really enjoy. If you like garage, just straight out rock and roll, the Devil's Pension. And how's that going?
And that's going fantastic. I couldn't have met a better group of people for my aesthetic, And it's not like they were huge fans of New Math or but they're extremely talented in songwriting. It's been a lot of fun. Their songs that we all write are really great. We have a song called I Gotta Do Shit Before the Nukes Hit. Can you say that on this?
Yeah,
this isn't going over the air.
That's the beauty, and like Mike's show, we could swear on the podcast.
Yeah, I can. I must behave myself.
Yes. All right.
But here, go for it.
Yeah. There's a lot of swearing in our songs. I keep talking to them.
Well, understandably so. I mean,
But it's right in the title.
Well, I always I have this weird, fetish, if I see, the song list. So you had them up on the wall, and I'm looking at them going, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, because, Yeah, we do Misfits covers and Cramps covers. And...
Did you guys open for the Cramps when they were here in '81?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Didn't Lux cut himself or throw something at the ceiling?
I had no idea what was going on.
He pulled the ceiling. It was
he
like
did.
This. It was like this stuff.
Don was not happy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he threw their drums off the stage to get even. Well, somebody pulled Lux's pants down.
It was him. It wasn't Captain Sensible, because I heard like his pants fell down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we played with the Damned in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he was another one that didn't have anything on by the time the show was over.
The good old days of rock and roll.
The good old days. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. That was why we were so lucky to be in the middle of opening for the Go-Go's and the B-52s, the Cramps.
Yeah. Well, I saw you guys. I went to Warp Speed. That was the moment for me, because I had been listening to Ramones and Elvis Costello, which I liked, but it was mostly album rock, and I loved the Beatles and the mid-'60s stuff. And then I saw you guys live. You opened for the Ramones, and I'm like, what's going on? Del Rivers and myself went. We were sitting in the balcony. The first two songs are great, and then you go, oh, we're going to do a Pretty Thing song. And I look at him and I go, what the? Let's go down on the floor. And then Kevin did Gloria, and he was going on about how the radio sucks, and I want to hear our songs on the radio, and they keep playing Billy Joel and all this stuff. And I'm going, these guys are great. And from that on, I never missed you. And I went on Budget Record and all that good stuff. So, thank you.
And my only thing was, because, again, I was a bit of a young un, was I couldn't get in, or Scourgy would have thrown me out a window.
You didn't know the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Mick Albert had that down to a science.
But I saw you at the festival tent, and as I said before, all I remember, there was a band called Listen before you, and I remember what stood out for me, too, was Kevin was climbing the walls.
Yeah, that's about right.
Well,
they opened for the Invictus, too, at Lilac Festival. It was the first time the Invictus were back since the late 60s, and, that was pretty wild. You guys opened for them.
Oh, but that's like...
I think like Harrow East...
those were good
or
times.
what it was called then.
Triangle
Theater. We like opened for the Ramones there. You could have got in that, I think.
I might have. It's so foggy. I remember John Cale played at the Triangle.
I was 18, so I don't know.
I remember hearing about the Pretenders played at the Triangle.
We opened for the Pretenders.
The Romantics played there. I saw the Pretenders there like twice before.
Ramones played there.
Romantics, George Thorogood, a lot of people that early on.
That was the best venue.
McGuinn, Clark, and Hillman. That was a great one. Yeah.
That was a great venue. Now it's a wedding venue, I think.
No, it's a prom, because I got stuck going to see the Living Room in Abilene, and I had to back my car up between like a space this big because they blocked the way to go down, which is horrible.
Just go the next block over. Danny's there with Abilene. You're all good.
Yeah, but that was not good. And I'm telling Danny, what about the parking down here? They're blocking the whole street. They're blocking the whole street for a prom. I want to see my music.
So this release is, what was it, Propeller?
Sound Recordings.
Sound Recordings, and it's New Math 1979 to 83?
No, 76 or 77,
no.
I think.
Let's go back to...
I think it's 76 to 83.
Where's Propeller?
We're actually looking facts up on the show today.
We're checking things out. I would have jumped in earlier, but my phone's almost dead. So
we're making sure for all of you fine
That's
folks.
right. We're checking things out.
Now, if you don't order it online, you can go get it at the shows.
Okay, so it is 1979 to 1983.
Your memory's better than mine.
When it comes to years, yes. At least years back then.
So
very cool cover too. It's like not garish or anything. It's just
this was the original cover.
Yeah.
From which, like again, this is what? Because we initially made a decision. This guy Jake Hoyle, he teaches adjunct at what's that big Boston music school?
Berkeley.
Mm-hmm. He teaches at Berkeley. We figured Jay, he knows what he's doing, right? So we said, whatever you want, whatever songs you decide to put on it, whatever cover, whatever artwork, whatever.
Has he changed any of the mixes, or are these pretty much?
Well, he had them mastered. They sound great.
Okay.
That's why, say another version. I was trying to make sure that we did find a version that was remastered for this, because it came out, better than the old recording.
And now you're playing on Wednesday at Record Archive, then on Friday at Three Heads. Now I heard, just reading, I get the little emails. You're going to premiere a video before you play, or is this accurate?
I don't know that, because they've been. Well, like I said, the
come down and find out.
Yes, come down and find out. You can pick up, and all the merch will be there.
There's all these the few videos you find on.
Well, they're on Instagram. I've seen a lot of them. And some of them are on YouTube.
Right. And these are officially done by Propeller Recordings, and I know they've already released 3. I don't know if there's going to be another.
Oh, well, come. There will be music. There will be merch too. Everything's going to be available to purchase there on Wednesday.
Oh yes. Including
merch
beer
and mirth. It's all happening, baby.
Yes,
plus beer.
On Three Heads on Friday.
New Math beer.
That's what I want to talk about on Friday too. Are you having some special guests on Friday?
Yes, we're having some ska band.
Which is their name.
We're not just us being some ska band. We don't know. Some ska band.
Are going to back us up on 3 tunes.
Be older women,
Ron Stackman is going to sing Older Women and play, and then the horns will be there.
Cool.
During that song.
The only thing in my age, any older women are going to be dead.
I know. I made that joke the other day. I said, I don't know about older women now. I wrote this 40 years ago. But it still rings true. And so, we have some other people coming also. I'm not sure about all the people that had said yes. I think Overham Sam and...
Well, actually, I ran into Josh Netsky yesterday. I was just driving.
I think
downtown.
Josh is going to be with us on Friday.
And he actually said, I actually ran into Josh Netsky. I was driving down University. He's walking. And it's like, yeah, Josh, you're playing with... He said, right now it sounds like he isn't, but he's going to be there.
No, as far as I know, he's going to do some things with us on Friday.
You musicians, you goof me up. You tell me one thing.
Was that the time I was supposed to be there?
No, Roy's in charge of all of this.
But I know, like you said, like our own Adriana Noon and Iggy were supposedly.
Iggy is going to play.
And which is like, I have to text her about this because this is...
And we think we have her doing Angela.
Cool.
Great voice. But this is like Mike, thank you. Like, this is how, because I grew up with this. This is, in a way, how I became involved with, like, Gun Club and all the, I call it underground music, local music. Yeah. Because obviously when I was going to school, you could probably guess what most people listen to at school. So I was listening to something different. So literally it's like full circle for me, because then I'm saying people who are friends of mine now who I probably never would have met if I didn't know this music.
Well, I would go see these guys, and I'd see the bands that would open up for them. And then I'd listen to WRUR, which at that point, living in northwest Monroe County, I had to attach an antenna to get a decent fix on it. But there were kids coming up from New York and local people who were playing all the new stuff, and that was my way to get into it and say, hey, look, I don't necessarily have to be with all this other stuff that they're pushing my friends are listening to and, that's on the radio or on TV. This is the stuff I love. I'm going after it. I don't care what anybody thinks. And,
actually, Rochester turned out to be a little mecca.
Really did.
Between WRUR, Rock and Roll Joel's.
Rock and Roll Joel. He and Havelock opened up the Parliament Lounge at one point. Didn't last long, but they did that.
And then there was Kevin was program director at ITR.
Yeah.
And had a show on CMF. So
we found a way.
People listened to that, came down to the clubs, saw the bands. A lot of these national acts during that time came through here. And I think there's a lot of cities that did not get this.
No, it's true. I've heard 2 things I'll tell you really quick. Like Bill Kirchhoff would plug the high risers, and what he would say is, now, you don't think this, but a lot of places don't have bands like this.
Yeah.
And then one for me, it's a friend moved to Atlanta, a big city, sounds like a cool city. Gets back to me like, well, Rob, you don't believe it.
Yeah.
There's no music down here.
But it all goes back to the scene they started. And then Cappy and the Frenchman, the cliches, the Chesterfield Kings, the high techs, and then personal effects, and, then the projectiles, and you just name it.
Okay, you're in charge for next time. You're going to do a tree of everybody.
No, that's a Del Rivers thing. Give that to him. I'll tell you about it. He can write it down.
My memory's not that good on anything. I'm looking back at
I think, again, this is just proof that it's still there.
And I guarantee I'm going to predict, too, you get a mix of young and old at these shows.
I think so.
And the thing, too, I'm not going to say, okay, for the guests like Adriana's supposed to be there. I've heard Ben Morey. Come down and find out. It's going to be great no matter what.
Yes.
It might be a surprise. Maybe Mike will get up and sing.
Yeah.
I still got one song in me. I don't know if you guys know Have Love Will Travel, but I'd pull it off. Yeah.
Actually, we do.
I'm in trouble.
Devil's Pension does Have Love Will Travel.
See if I still got it. Yeah, my Gary Rosley. I got it.
Yeah. Yep. I got it in my head. Yeah, we love the Sonics. Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Oh, of course, the Sonics are awesome. Yeah. That's good. But no, it's going to be
that's a lot like our stuff.
Yeah.
Our original, we do a couple songs that sound like Sonics. And
oh, yeah.
That's why I
like it's now, it's like, we have no shame.
Well, then you could do the money song where people used to throw money at you. That was
Remember
a good
that?
one.
Oh,
that was a big
video.
mistake. Oh my God!
The picture, because I was like, it was like
that happened with
VHS. But I remember, like, Roy's hammering $1.
Yeah.
Because did you ever? The only thing with these,
they get pelted with the
I was going to say, did you get pelted with quarters and stuff?
We meant dollars. And everybody thought it was cool to throw a quarter.
Well, at least it's better than the bottles they used to throw at you.
The Ramones came out and picked up the money.
Well,
I'm
not
surprised. Vacuum cleaner? I heard like the manager used
Pneumatic Girl. That was another song, speaking of vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, used the vacuum cleaner. But remember the Beatles? You were like the Beatles because there was word out that they liked the jelly beans, the jelly babies.
Jelly babies.
So they pelted George with jelly beans.
But in America, you see, they'd start throwing
jelly
beans.
Hurts.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm going to put me on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because I remember hearing Kevin. I could distinctly remember saying dollar bills.
Money,
dollar bills.
Oh, yeah, remember that?
It's like dollar
arcade. You guys got pelted. All good
cool.
stuff,
all
man.
All good stuff.
Wednesday night.
And we'll just hold it for now on this, and hopefully in the future there'll be more. Let's do one step at a time, though, like in terms of this week, and enjoy this week, the release and everything.
Wednesday night at the Record Archive,
yep.
And then Friday night at Three Heads Brewing.
There'll be a lot of surprises, a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff to do. But thanks a lot, man. It's been a really fun time.
Yeah, thank you.
And
absolutely.
we will have, now it's Dealer's Choice. We're not going to have Mike sing that song, so that's
Which
out.
one?
The one you mentioned. No, the one you
Find out
you
why?
Could sing.
What am I doing?
No.
Okay.
You're gonna have you have one song left, and you will hold it for another episode, okay?
Yeah,
we'll have Greg
maybe
drum
two.
on.
Louis there.
We'll have Greg drum on it. But from the new release, what would you like to play? We're going to play.
Well, I gave him Restless Kind.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's another anthem to the downtrodden.
It's like that kid growing up. I want to get out of this.
Yep. And that's who I was when this came out.
Oh, and that's why it was too. Good old suburbia sitting there. Let's go.
With a pogo.
But very cool. And thanks a lot, man. We'll see you this week. And bye.
Bye.
Bye.